my name is Janita, and I want to talk about the professional counseling skills videos that we did watch and a couple of the more important factors that I see in doing that is what they kind of highlighted with the invitational, the listening, and the reflecting skills. The first one to me is the invitational. That is kind of inviting someone in, and that's in what you say, how you say it, in body language. And to me, that's used not just in a professional setting such as counseling or in my job, like at the hospital or Red Lobster, but that's also in informal conversation with a friend and coworker. Like Red Lobster, I'll say, how can I help you today? What can I get you? What brings you in today? And the same thing with going into counseling and what they showed in the videos is like, what brings you in today? Those are a lot of the main factors of invitational skills and doing that. And what you do is, and being able to summarize what the patient is saying, and how you do that is in doing with the tone of voice and tell me a little more about that and tell me a little more about this, and it kind of goes into the listening from there. When you hear the counselors, they summarize. And again, I do that. I feel like I do that at Red Lobster, at the hospital, when I say, okay, I hear you say this, or I hear you're concerned about your appointment because of this. And that's the same thing that they did in the videos with the counseling, that like with the lady with the boyfriend, he was able to summarize and bring that back to her in a very non-judgmental way, and being able to listen, whether it was verbally or non-verbally. When he would shake his head and he would say, mm-hmm, yes, kind of what they talked about in chapter 8, which talks about affirming. And that shows an active listening skill, and that can be either passive or active, but we see it in both ways. And again, I see it in all the videos. And he does it by asking open and close-ended questions. So that makes you feel like this. Is that correct? And she'll say yes, and then she'll kind of add on. And to me, that's very, very important. And you see with all of them, they have an open stance. They don't have their arms crossed. They're not doing something else. They're not focusing on listening to their phone, having music, having an open window. It's a face-to-face conversation. And that kind of, to me, goes into more of the reflecting and being able to go back and giving either a passive or an active way of bringing that back, whether that's a silence or an application to a future process, which we see in the lady with the boyfriend, and talking about future family and saying, um, I'm concerned with, if I have a family, I'm going to be with the kids by myself. And so that's one of the things, and being able to get to the core issues. Or in the last video, when the young man was talking about his parents coming up, and it took a little while to get there, but looking at the core issue of being able to do that, and that happened through the opening and closed-ended questions. A couple things that I see that are a little different than I expected was that none of them took notes. And actually, after being in a counseling session throughout college when I was an RA, we had to be in a counseling session once a month as part of being an RA. And none of them in the videos took notes, in which I really appreciate, because that shows to me that you are part of the active listening and being able to let me know what I'm telling you, whether that's eye contact or doing something else. Another little thing that was odd to me is when the female counselor actually touched the male client, and to me um, that's nothing wrong with it, but in looking at a fact of a female and a male, and what it could assume, and different things like that, and the liability, there's other ways to be able to do that through a tone of voice that they've talked about, and showing the empathy, being able to, I do understand, and even maybe leaning forward, to that, but maybe not the full touch. And one of the last things that I thought was a little different was when all of them were talking, they all had the open stance or opening setting, and showing that nothing closed, but none of them talked with their hands a lot. And I don't know if that's just a thing with me or culture, or having worked with a lot of kids, but I talk with my hands a lot, and I do it a lot below where you can see too, and being able to have that conversation. And so but I really enjoyed the videos. I really enjoyed understanding and seeing a lot of them were the textbook kind of counseling of being able to, the application, being able to ask the questions, to be able to lead, to understand the reflecting process, and seeing the steps through that. So I very much appreciate it. And so thank Thank you so much and have a great rest of your week. And I look forward to hearing responses.